Madridistas at heart, welcome once again to El Madridista, the place where every whisper, every rumor, every scrap of news about our beloved club is lived with the intensity of a European final. This is not a space for hollow headlines or shallow analysis. No, this is where football is dissected, celebrated, and debated with the passion and reverence that only the greatest institution in world football deserves. When we speak here, we speak as fans who carry the crest on our chest, who breathe the magic of Chamartin, and who understand that being a Madridista is not just about following a team, it is about belonging to a legacy. And today, I want to talk to you about a topic that is igniting discussions everywhere. From online forums that never sleep, to WhatsApp groups buzzing at midnight, to heated television debates and even casual conversations on the streets of Madrid, everywhere you turn, one name keeps surfacing. It is a name that is starting to stir the imagination of fans, a name that awakens curiosity, excitement, and perhaps even a little impatience. Kobbie Mainoo. Yes, that very same Kobbie Mainoo. The young English midfielder, barely 20 years of age, who has begun to shine, quietly but undeniably, in the Premier League. Despite his talent, he finds himself in a complicated chapter of his career at Manchester United. Limited minutes on the pitch, inconsistent confidence from the coaching staff, and the heavy weight of a club in transition have left him standing at a crossroads. He has the skills, he has the hunger, but what he needs most now is the right environment to grow, to be challenged, and to blossom into the star he is destined to become. And so, the inevitable question arises: what better destination than the Santiago Bernabéu? Mainoo is not just another prospect tossed around by rumor mills. He is widely considered one of the most promising young talents in British football. He has technique, vision, and, perhaps most importantly, character. He plays with a confidence that belies his age, with an awareness and composure on the ball that suggests he was born for bigger stages. And what greater stage could there be than Real Madrid, the club that has turned promising talents into world-class legends time and time again? This is the Real Madrid effect. Other clubs wait for players to prove themselves elsewhere. Madrid identifies brilliance early, takes the gamble, and transforms raw gems into polished diamonds. Think of the names from the past. Young players who arrived carrying only potential and left behind legacies. Sergio Ramos, who arrived as a promising defender from Sevilla and became a captain, a warrior, a symbol of an era. Luka Modric, who faced doubts when he first set foot in Spain, only to carve his name into history as one of the greatest midfielders the game has ever seen. Vinicius Jr., signed as a teenager, mocked by critics, now adored as one of the most dangerous forwards in the world. Real Madrid has always had this vision, this courage, this faith in the power of potential. And when we think of Mainoo in this light, we cannot help but imagine him thriving in white. Picture him in the heart of midfield, standing shoulder to shoulder with the new generation: Eduardo Camavinga, Fede Valverde, Aurelien Tchouaméni, and of course, Jude Bellingham, the crown jewel of English football who has already fallen in love with the Bernabéu and made it his kingdom. Can you imagine Mainoo and Bellingham together? Two young lions from England, writing their story not in Manchester or London, but in Madrid, under the bright lights of European nights, carrying the hopes of fans across continents. Let us also not forget the timing. We stand at the edge of a generational transition. The eternal Luka Modric, the maestro who has painted masterpieces on the canvas of the Bernabéu, is gracefully approaching the end of his symphony. Toni Kroos, the architect of order and precision, is in the twilight of his extraordinary career. And yet, what could have been a frightening void has become an opportunity, because Real Madrid has been preparing. The midfield is evolving, youth is rising, and the hunger to keep winning is stronger than ever. Mainoo would not only find a place, he would find a school, a university of football unlike any other, where learning alongside the greats is part of the daily routine. Of course, playing for Real Madrid is not for everyone. The shirt is heavy, impossibly heavy. It carries the weight of 14 European Cups, of legends past and present, of millions of fans worldwide who demand excellence every single time the team steps onto the field. Many have tried and failed. Talent alone is not enough. What it takes is resilience, determination, and a mental strength that can endure the sharpest criticism and the brightest spotlight. Does Mainoo have that within him? That is the great unknown. But what we do know is that there is no better place to find out than Madrid. For the fans, this possibility goes beyond a simple transfer rumor. It is the dream of seeing another young star take his chance to shine in the most prestigious club on earth. It is about the excitement of renewal, of continuity, of knowing that the Madridismo never rests, that the pursuit of greatness is eternal. Imagine, just for a moment, the roar of 80,000 voices in the Bernabeu chanting his name after a decisive performance. Imagine the sight of him lifting a trophy, wrapped in the white flag of Madridismo. Imagine the story yet to be written. Because that is what Real Madrid is ultimately about, dreams becoming reality. Time and again, players have arrived as hopefuls and left as legends. And time and again, fans have dared to dream, and their dreams have taken shape on the field. Kobbie Mainoo may or may not wear the sacred white jersey in the future, we cannot know. But what we can say, with certainty, is that this conversation, this possibility, this flicker of excitement, already tells us something important. Real Madrid never sleeps. The club is always looking forward, always seeking, always preparing for the next chapter in its glorious book. So let us allow ourselves to dream, Madridistas. Let us imagine Mainoo stepping onto the pitch at Chamartin, his heart pounding, his eyes fixed on greatness. Let us imagine him proving to the world that Real Madrid is not just where stars come, it is where stars are born. And perhaps, just perhaps, one day soon, we will no longer be speaking of Mainoo as a rumor, but as a Madridista, a part of this everlasting story we call Real Madrid. HALA Madrid. Always. In every great story, there is always a central figure who shapes the narrative, someone whose presence is so strong that it almost eclipses the events themselves. In the case of the modern history of Real Madrid, that protagonist is none other than Florentino Perez. The president of the club is not just a leader. He has become a symbol, a constant presence, and an architect of greatness who has left an indelible mark on the footballing world. His influence extends far beyond the walls of the Santiago Bernabeu. To talk about Real Madrid in the 21st century is, in many ways, to talk about Florentino. For more than 2 decades, he has been the driving force behind the evolution of the club. From the bold experiment of the early 2000s known as the Galacticos Project, which brought legends like Luis Figo, Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo Nazario, David Beckham, and Roberto Carlos together under one roof, to the carefully designed new generation led by Vinicius Jr. and Jude Bellingham, Florentino has shown an unmatched ability to reinvent Real Madrid while keeping it firmly at the summit of world football. He doesn't merely react to the market, he shapes it. He doesn't improvise, he strategizes. Every move, every signing, every bold statement has been part of a bigger plan to ensure that Real Madrid not only survives but thrives, generation after generation. Florentino operates like a chess grandmaster. Each transfer is a piece moved on a giant board, and while the rest of Europe scrambles in the chaos of inflated markets and reactionary purchases, Real Madrid often appears to act with surgical precision. The club, under his guidance, is never desperate. They are patient, measured, and opportunistic. They strike when the timing is perfect. And that is why, when the name of Kobbie Mainoo begins to surface in discussions about Madrid's future, it sparks intrigue. Mainoo, the talented young midfielder from Manchester United, is a player whose qualities seem almost tailor-made for the Real Madrid philosophy. Youth, versatility, composure, hunger, and immense potential for growth. Yet, as is often the case with Madrid's transfer stories, his arrival does not simply depend on desire, whether from the player himself or from the president. 2 specific scenarios, and only these, could realistically open the doors of the Santiago Bernabeu to him. The first scenario is unfortunately one that no one wishes for, a serious injury in the midfield. Real Madrid's current squad is blessed with depth and variety, but the demands of a grueling season, La Liga, the Champions League, the Copa del Rey, and potentially the FIFA Club World Cup, can stretch even the strongest squads to their limits. A long-term injury to a pivotal player would instantly shift the balance and force Florentino and the sporting directors to act decisively in the market. In such a case, Mainoo could become a top candidate, given his profile and availability. The second scenario revolves around Dani Ceballos, a player of undeniable talent but one whose continuity at Real Madrid has always been uncertain. Since arriving at the club, Ceballos has fought for minutes in one of the most competitive midfields in world football. Despite flashes of brilliance, his role has rarely been central, and his name often surfaces in speculation about potential departures. If he were to seek a new chapter elsewhere in search of regular playing time, the club would suddenly have a gap to fill, a gap that someone like Mainoo could occupy. Now, why would Mainoo be such an attractive candidate for Madrid? The answer lies in both footballing logic and strategic vision. Florentino Perez's transfer policy in recent years has leaned toward securing the best young talents before they explode completely onto the world stage. It is the same strategy that brought Rafael Varane from Lens, Casemiro from São Paulo, and Federico Valverde from Penarol. Each of those players arrived with promise, grew under the tutelage of Madrid's coaching staff, and ultimately became legends in their own right. Mainu could follow a similar trajectory. He has already shown in the Premier League that he possesses remarkable composure for his age, often dictating the tempo of matches with maturity far beyond his years. His ability to operate both as a defensive shield and as a progressive midfielder makes him incredibly versatile, a trait that Madrid values highly in its players. And perhaps most importantly, he fits the long-term vision of the club, to build a squad that can dominate Europe not just for a year or two, but for an entire era. Imagine, for a moment, Mainu stepping into a midfield rotation that already includes Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouaméni, Federico Valverde, Jude Bellingham, and Arda Güler. This is not just a strong midfield, it is arguably the most exciting collection of young midfield talent in the world. Each player brings something unique: Camavinga's energy and adaptability, Tchouaméni's physical presence and intelligence, Valverde's box-to-box dynamism, Bellingham's creativity and goals, Güler's technical brilliance. To add Mainu into that mix would be to inject yet another layer of versatility and depth, ensuring that Real Madrid's midfield remains unmatched for the next decade. But beyond the tactics, beyond the statistics, there is the symbolic power of such a signing. Real Madrid is not just a football club, it is an idea, a brand, an empire built on the pursuit of excellence. Every player who arrives is not simply expected to perform on the pitch, they are expected to embrace the weight of history, the pressure of the white shirt, the responsibility of playing in front of 80,000 fans at the Bernabeu. Florentino Perez understands this better than anyone. That is why his transfer decisions are not made lightly. When Madrid targets a player, it is because they believe he can carry that weight and become part of a story much larger than himself. Mainu, should either of those scenarios unfold, would have a real and tangible chance of becoming part of that story. His arrival would not just be about plugging a gap or adding another body to the squad. It would be a statement that Madrid continues to look ahead, continues to invest in youth, and continues to prepare for the inevitable transitions from one era to the next. Just as the club seamlessly moved from the era of Zidane, Ronaldo, and Beckham to that of Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, and Ramos, and now into the Bellingham-Vinicius generation, so too would Mainu represent continuity, a promise that the cycle of greatness never ends. Because, at the end of the day, Florentino Perez has built his legacy on one unshakable principle: Real Madrid must always remain at the top. Injuries may come, players may leave, markets may fluctuate, but the institution cannot afford to stand still. That is why every decision is calculated, every risk measured, every opportunity weighed with the precision of a man who knows he is not just running a football team but protecting an empire. And so, whether or not Mainu's story intertwines with that of Madrid in the immediate future, the fact that his name is even being mentioned is telling. It means that he has already caught the eye of the most ambitious and demanding club in the world. It means that, at some point, the chessboard might shift, and Florentino Perez could decide that the time is right. If that moment comes, one thing is certain: Mainu would not simply be joining a club. He would be stepping into history. This is where things get truly fascinating, Madridistas, and where I want to invite you to stop for a moment and really reflect with me. What kind of role could Kabi Mainu play in the Real Madrid of the future? We are not talking about an ordinary midfielder, not just another promising youngster who shines for a season and then fades away. No, Mainu represents something different, a modern-day midfielder, perfectly suited to the demands of 21st-century football. He is not confined to a single role, nor restricted by rigid tactical definitions. Mainu has the intelligence and versatility to operate as a defensive pivot, protecting the backline and dictating tempo from deep, but he is equally comfortable stepping into more advanced positions, linking play between defense and attack, and offering himself as a reliable outlet under pressure. What makes him special is this rare blend of elegance and strength. He is a player with touch, vision, and composure on the ball, someone who rarely panics even in the most pressing situations. At the same time, he has the physical attributes to win duels, to shield the ball, to recover possession with intensity, and to impose himself in those crucial midfield battles that often decide matches at the highest level. He does not seek the spotlight, does not obsess over goals or assists. Instead, he thrives as the engine, the connector, the silent force that allows everything else to click into place. And all of us, as seasoned observers of Real Madrid's history, know what that means. These are the types of players who end up defining eras. The ones who don't always make the headlines but are remembered as absolutely indispensable, the backbone of legendary teams. Think back for a second. Claude Makelele, the unsung hero of the Galacticos. A player whose departure is still cited as one of the club's greatest mistakes. He was the balance, the glue, the safety net that allowed Zidane, Figo, Raul, and Ronaldo to express themselves with freedom. Without Makelele, that team looked glamorous but fragile. With him, it was nearly unstoppable. Casemiro, the anchor of the three-peat Champions League dynasty under Zidane. How many times did we see him appear out of nowhere to snuff out a counterattack, to win a header, to crash into a tackle that lifted the stadium to its feet? His presence gave Modric and Kroos the confidence to weave their magic, knowing that the Brazilian warrior was always there to protect them. Mainu, though still young and unproven at the very top, could aspire to a similar trajectory. He has that same aura of inevitability, that sense that his game is not about individual fireworks but about elevating the entire team. Now, let's imagine the scenario. Mainu stepping into the Real Madrid midfield while two living legends, Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, are still around to guide him. Can you grasp what that would mean for his development? From Kroos, he could learn the art of controlling rhythm with surgical precision, the ability to slow down or accelerate a game with a single touch, to dictate tempo like a conductor with a baton. From Modric, he could absorb that tireless energy, that resilience, that capacity to reinvent himself again and again, even as the years advance. Few young players in world football will ever get the chance to learn directly from two midfielders of such historic stature. And yet, here is the real dilemma, the question that I want to throw directly at you, Madridistas. Backhand index pointing right: should Real Madrid act boldly and bring Mainu in as early as the winter transfer window of 2026, giving him the time to adjust to the Bernabeu, to Spanish football, and to the immense expectations that come with wearing white? Backhand index pointing right, or would it be wiser to wait, to let him mature further in his current environment, to arrive at the Santiago Bernabeu already hardened, polished, and ready to explode immediately on the biggest stage? This is not a simple decision. Because joining Real Madrid is not just another career step. It is the ultimate leap. It is a transformation. Many great players have come here and struggled under the weight of expectation. Talent alone is never enough. You need mental strength, character, the ability to handle the relentless pressure of performing at the highest level every 3 days. That's why this debate around Mainu is so compelling. He is clearly gifted, clearly intelligent, clearly on a path that could make him world-class. But the timing, the timing, is everything. We should also consider the bigger picture of Madrid's midfield rebuild. With Camavinga and Tchouaméni already in place, and Valverde continuing to grow as both a runner and a leader, adding Mainu could create a next-generation midfield core that rivals even the legendary trios of the past. Imagine it, a blend of power, youth, dynamism, and technical class, designed to dominate Europe for the next decade. The pieces are already there. The only question is whether Mainu should be the next one to slot into the puzzle. And so, Madridistas, I open the floor to you. The debate is alive, and it is yours to shape. Do we act now, seizing the opportunity before anyone else? Or do we play the long game, trusting in his continued development before we welcome him home to the Bernabeu? But let me leave you with this final teaser. The story doesn't end here. In the coming days, I will be bringing you another major bombshell about the transfer market, a move that Florentino Perez and the board are handling with absolute secrecy, one that could dramatically reshape the team's trajectory for years to come. This is not speculation, not idle gossip. This is something real, something significant, something that could take Madrid into an entirely new era. So stay tuned. Subscribe, leave your comments, share your passion. Activate the bell so you don't miss a single update. Because this is our community, our home, and together we live every heartbeat of this incredible journey. And never forget, Madridistas, no matter what happens in the transfer market, no matter who comes and who goes, we always finish the same way. Hala Madrid, why not Amos?